Good evening, everyone. I'm very excited to be here today to chair this wonderful session on this very critical topic. And we have, a really experienced set of speakers here on this panel. So, we can get right to it. As I was researching, this topic, it's so pertinent. Leadership development and succession planning in the current environment, especially. Um, while all of us know what succession planning is, what leadership development is, etc. As I was going through it, there are some companies that are globally known to produce CXOs at scale. Companies that we've all heard of and admired. Global organizations like General Electric, GE, or P&G. Or the previous company I used to work for, which is PepsiCo, and in India, closer to home, there's Hindustan Unilever, very well known for generating leaders at scale. However, while there's a McKinsey study that says that 84% of executives, which are CEOs, recognize the need for succession and leadership development, most companies really struggle to get this one right. There's another survey that actually says that all business or many business leaders agree that the workforce should be 67% built and only 33% bought, from a build, buy, and borrow perspective. But most organizations still rely heavily on external recruitment. So my first question, and let's start with Sukhjit on my right. What do you think, Sukhjit? How can organizations embed succession planning into their HR strategy as opposed to it being part of a checklist?
Thanks, Avantika. Good evening, everyone. Uh, well, I would like to start with saying that, there are all three dimensions, and the speaker earlier were also talking about future readiness. And I think one of the key challenges is how do we get the organization that we work for future ready, especially when the workforce, and workplace, all three are changing very, very rapidly. And I think there are a lot of challenges, especially on the talent front, that I'm sure each one of us, whether we are in X industry or Y industry, are facing. For example, I'm sure we all are in IT city, and IT city, AI is a big talk, as the software engineer's role is changing, the skills that are changing. Similarly, the automobile industry is going through shift to EV. So every industry has this shifts that are going on. And as the saying goes that, nowadays it's not about competition that you need to worry about. It's about the external volatile environment and the digital disruption that you need to worry about more. So I think the key here is how do we change ourselves? How do we keep the organization future ready? And I think there are three aspects to that. One, the challenges is definitely one is that multi-generation workforce, especially the new generation workforce that we have today. How do we align to that kind of workforce? At the same time, so it's a legacy that we need to definitely legacy wisdom of the baby boomers that we definitely need to have. Similarly, we need to have the tech knowledge and disruption that the new generation carries. So we need to leverage both and not just one aspect of the multi-generational workforce. Second, I think there is what I call is this new generation saying that we belong to YOLO economy, or there are different flexible environments that we require. So how do we attune the organization towards these changing environment? So there are different aspects that we need to take care of when we are looking at the organization readiness, and succession planning becomes more and more challenging in this kind of environment. So one of the key areas that, in fact, the research says that only 30% of your high performers are actually high potential. So even if we have and that too, they may be, and rest 70% actually may be just good for current role, but they're not future ready. So how do we not only prepare the rest 70% for the future organization that we are building or we are getting into, and second, how do we take care of these 30% of the hype? And by the way, high performers are not, we all know it's just about close to, let's say, if 30% of high performers means about, it ends up one third of, or 10% of the whole organization, that is actually your high performance and high potential now, if we actually strictly go by what skills are needed for the future. So I think most important aspect for us nowadays is, we when we are looking at succession building pipeline, etc., we definitely need to map out as to what are the critical skills that we require for taking the organization a 2030 vision, and or maybe just 5 years hence how the organization will look like. So I think this aspect cannot be ignored at this moment.
Thank you so much, Sukhjit. Amit, would you like to add to that perspective?
When we really look at it, when can something become a business critical piece rather than an HR checklist? One of the key pieces is that how does it make a difference to the business? A business leader will only look at a process only if it's making sense to him. Otherwise, if it's just a paper exercise, it really has no meaning. So one of the most important piece is that we shouldn't be looking at succession planning exercise as a replacement chart that we plot the entire organization and start looking at it. Hey, who will kind of replace what? But the key piece is that which are our critical roles which are really making the business succeed. Till that time, we are not really looking at that and then doing a succession planning. The business mind never comes, because ultimately we need to look at it that across all our roles, we divide them into those three categories. What are my A roles, B roles, and C roles? And A roles being the roles which are really driving the business strategy, not the roles which are most highly paid, not the roles which are where people are most diligent or they're working in the most challenging environment. That's not the criteria. The criteria is, when you have very clearly defined your business strategy, what role is really firing that strategy? And if you're defining that and then started to look at our entire succession planning exercise in line of those critical roles, it really starts embedding in the business, because they now see it something as going to add value rather than doing it for a B role, which is more like a supporting role, or a C role, which is like it even can be outsourced. So they will really not bothered about it. So that's an important element, in my view, we need to focus on, rather than doing it as a complete across the organization, kind of process. Focus it, have it around where it's really making a business impact, and then the business will automatically take it as part of the strategy rather than keeping it as an HR checklist.
Thank you. Really interesting perspectives that we've got, from both Amit as well as Sukhjit on the first question. Again, as I was researching this subject, there's a very interesting framework called the Conferry 7 Signposts Framework. And what it does is it tries to create a framework around who are likely to be your high potentials from a leadership success standpoint. And some of the attributes that they have called out through their research are a drive to lead, aptitude for logic and reasoning, managing derailment risks, self-awareness, leadership traits, and an ability to learn from experience, and a track record of formative experiences. Now they have this framework, you can get analyzed on it, and based on how you're scored, it is to determine potential. But Sachin, I'll come to you now, and which competencies do you believe are the most critical for next gen leaders, and how do you develop them?
Absolutely. Good evening, everyone. In my point of view, so I've been in the recruiting domain for the last 2 decades. And it's very important that we have the right kind of competencies in the traits in a leader that we are either hiring internally or somebody external as such. So the most important criteria that we would look for is the learning agility. So that's something which is extremely important, because if you put the person through all the stretched kind of projects, right, the complexity is something which adds value to it. And that's where the person learns and would be able to depict that in any other experience that you have. So that's the first one and the foremost one. The second one, which I would look for, is curiosity, right? Challenge the status quo. And we have been doing that for a long time now. The last 5-6 years, we have seen the industry change, right? And that's what is bringing back, why should I do this the traditional manner? Why shouldn't I adapt technology to it, right? Or something else which will be smarter and can be done faster. So that is another trait that I would look for. Strategic vision, maybe exposure to international projects, cross-functional projects. That brings in a lot of value to this trait. And then you have emotional intelligence, digital fluency. I think that's also something which is becoming more and more important. You need to be more tech savvy as a leader, right? And guide the organization accordingly. So these would be primary ones, I would say. And we look at different kind of assessment methodologies, right? When you talk about a 360-degree feedback, right? You have feedback from your manager to your peers to different business leaders, and that gives you a kind of self-reflection. And unless a leader has that with him or her, it becomes very difficult for the progress as such. So I would like to, share that point of view as such.
Wonderful, really interesting, Sachin. You look within, you're checking for how they respond to other, environments, etc. Really comprehensive.
See, apart from the competencies which we just talked about, and then these are, universal. But I would still, ask all of you to look within your organizational context. That's very critical. Something, may work for my organization, may not work for his, and what will work for his may not work for his organization. So it's very critical that we always, customize, in line with what is my organization's DNA, what is my organization's strategy, where is my organization in the overall, growth phase? Is it in a, quick startup phase, rapidly expanding phase, plateau phase, or getting into a new business, whatever. So it's very critical that apart from looking at, these universal, traits which are there, customize it for, in line with what is really required in your organization. That's most important to really make it effective.
Thank you, Amit. Yeah, so I'll move on to Sukhjit now with the next question. There's a real struggle for internal successors in many organizations, as per various research reports, and I'm sure all of you will concur as well. As rules evolve and as the organization grows at pace. Sukhjit, you're leading HR for a very large and still growing enterprise. How do you balance between internal and external talent when you're thinking about succession and leadership?
So just to build on first what Sachin said, interestingly, my list is also similar, and I classify this competencies as A to E. So it's about agility, B for building culture, C for curiosity, and he mentioned about that. D for digital influence, he mentioned about that, and E for empathy and inclusion. So A to E of what a leader would require. Now coming to your question on internal versus external talent, I think it's age-old phenomena that we have used in HR in our talent discussions always. Which is build versus buy. Then came a few years back build versus buy versus borrow, and then came build versus buy versus borrow versus bought. And I think that's the phenomena that probably we all can simply use in deciding as to what kind of skills can be built internally. What are the skills that we need to go and hire for externally, because we cannot build in internally due to shortage of time, or maybe that kind of exposure is not there, or that kind of education levels are not there, etc. Then I think the borrow came, where we said, okay, what can be outsourced, what can be given better to experts than managing ourselves. And then of course of late, last 4-5 years, I think I'm sure each organization is doing bot, which is what is the impact of technology, what roles can remain, what roles need to be dissolved, what roles can be replaced by technology, and efficiency can be brought in. So I think if this yardstick is applied carefully during discussions in the talent councils, definitely we can decide on internal versus external talent.
Wonderful. I totally agree. I think, as we've looked at in the organizations that I've worked at as well, this conundrum about internal versus external. Oftentimes, there's just so much change in the industry that you need fresh perspective for a particular role. And Amit, you'd spoken about critical roles, as well. And there are certain roles and certain groups of roles where you really benefit from that external perspective or a certain skill set or talent. But then for the vast majority, if we're doing things right as an organization and doing them responsibly, we should be able to develop internal folk as well, because there's a lot of data that suggests that companies end up losing a lot of talent that they develop because they don't give them roles fast enough. And they go seeking those roles externally as well. So we're all in a big conundrum here, and it's a tough balancing act. I'll now move to Amit, and then anyone who wants to answer, because this is a real hot topic. What role do you think AI and data and technology plays in identifying and developing successors?
So I'll start with saying that AI is a good servant but a bad master. So let's not. We used to talk about this in the context of fire when we were kids, and we used to write an essay on fire. We used to say that, but I would like to say that with AI, because it's important to know how we use it well rather than they overpowering us and kind of trying to dictate what's to be done. Now, where it's really helpful is about removing biases. Where it's really helpful is throwing up people whom would have been not picked up. Sometimes what happens is the people who are the loudest in the organization tend to get noticed much more than people who are more quieter in the organization. Sometimes it happens that you have a manager who is very loud and he would continue to push his people or her people, and then there is a certain manager who's more not as much as vocal, and then the people under him or her will sometimes struggle. So these are all these dilemmas or situations which do happen practically, and sometimes a good talent gets hidden, and sometimes a talent gets overrated, or I would say sometimes some talent gets underrated. So what AI does is able to kind of bring it up. Now the key piece is that do we have the right data to get that up? Because ultimately somebody has to ensure that the right competencies are fed into the system in terms of what does success in a role look like, what kind of competencies, what kind of experiences are essential for somebody to succeed in a role. At the same time, what is our assessment of people over there? Is it really also equally fed into the system to kind of so that there's a matching which is happening at the back end, and somebody's really showing up, hey, this person is showing promise, this person is, let's say, 40% there, 80% there, 70% there, or in out of the 5 competencies, 4 competencies, it's there 60%, one competency is 20%. Can you look at it? So all of that data is a very helpful data, because it then ensures that we are not missing out on anybody. But then again, it's always about the fact that when we are actually testing that person, and when we are putting that person in a situation, say, okay, this person is a, let's say, a potential successor to a particular role, and let's kind of put the person to some kind of a stretch assignment to see does person really deliver it or not, is person showing that right maturity or not. This is where the human element has to come in. So it runs both ways. Good to kind of pick up, good to ensure that nothing is kind of left out, but I would still say that human intelligence has to kind of take over that, from where the AI would kind of leave it to you.
Sure. I completely agree with Amit, and it's more important that we have all the data in place in our platforms to make that happen. Just a small example that I was just thinking of was at Dell, we fill up our positions almost like 33 to 35% internally rather than going external. And the reason why this happens is because of AI. The internal marketplace that we have with the kind of scorecards of all the folks that we have in the system, that's giving us all the traits of why we should be selecting particular people. And they need not even go through levels of interviews internally. So that's how we are able to make things faster and recognize the person's capabilities and competencies. So that's playing extremely well for us, and it's faster. AI is helping not only internal for our internal progressions, but also the external hiring aspects as such.
Just to kind of add one more element to it, and I have seen the biggest pushback coming around this from the managers themselves, because they who actually have to first feed in the data, they have to provide the data, and for them, should I focus on my business deliverables, or should I focus on this? And that's a standard answer you will get from many managers, and it's changing their mindset. It becomes equally critical, because ultimately a garbage in will be throwing a garbage out. AI is ultimately working on some data itself. So that's very important that we kind of work on that element, as we are kind of moving towards that. Otherwise, it's not going to give us the results which we're really looking at.
Another topic that's been going on for a very long time, and many of us, I'm sure everyone in the audience has been working on this for a long while as well, is how to improve diverse representation, especially in the context of gender representation, at mid-management, senior management, top management in the organization. However, we're not being able to crack it, right? All the data is telling us that there are so many programs in place. Some companies are doing better than others. But by and large, it does not seem like our actions in terms of creating succession pipelines that represent both genders well are working as well as we'd like them to. So Sukhjit, first I'd like you to go on. What do you think we need to do? What needs to be done here?
I think especially the leaders need to be more inclusive and more empathetic towards understanding the needs of each and every generation. I think or maybe diverse talent that we have, whether it is global versus domestic, or whether it's male, female, LGBT, or whether it is a multi-generational workforce. So there needs to be a lot of appreciation between the differences each and every one carry. So I'll just take an example here now, and that happens when we become parents, and we say, our world, this used to happen, that used to happen, but that doesn't hold true now. So a simple, I was just watching a podcast recently in one of the colleges. There was somebody giving a session and said, fine, and he was training teachers, and he said, fine if your students are not learning the tables now, 1 to 20. In our, our kind of environment, 1 to 20 tables were very, very important to be, we used to be by heart, we used to know that. But now they don't need to memorize that, because they have a calculator on the phone, they have a calculator on their watch, etc. Now they can easily do it. So, and we memorize what we are supposed to memorize. In our system, in our generation, probably we were supposed to memorize it. Now they don't need to memorize. Similarly, I think now the challenge is on, we may understand that the new generation is less on racism, less on, if I may call it, sexism, So I think we need to understand that. And so we need to understand these multicultural generation differences. Very surprisingly, I heard a statement like, when you're playing a chess, why would you start with the white and not with the black? Isn't it racism? So those kind of statements. So I think it's very difficult to understand these aspects, but because we are so tuned to for years, but we've never been challenged on these things. But now we are being challenged on these things, and I think once we start understanding these differences and start appreciating these differences, I think we will be more inclusive and will be more accepting different kind of generations and different kind of diverse people in our organization.
Thanks, Sukhjit. Why don't you go, at it as well, Sachin?
Sure. I have few examples over here for sure. At Dell, we have D&I to the core of it, and it's in the hearts of everyone. And when I talk about diversity and inclusion, it's not only to do with women or specific genders. It's to do with primarily neurodiverse aspects, PWD, true ability, or we can look at the EWS community, which is the economically weaker sections side of it. So all this comes, very clearly to our prerogative, and it's very important that we do this first thing very clearly, is be very deliberate and go very structured in terms of our approach towards maybe the way we deal with unconscious bias, or maybe the systemic barriers that we have in place. One of the things that we have done within the organization is driving a agenda called Be the Change. And that's something which has really given, and it's across all. It's not only for leaders. It started with the leaders, but it went across all employees of Dell, wherein we rolled out those sessions, and we made them aware that what or how you need to actually deal when you have diverse kind of employees coming in from all kind of fraternity, and how you should deal with them. I think it was a great training for all the managers, for all the employees, and we learned quite a lot from that. So that's number one. Number two, what we did was, it was a clear direction from our CEO, our founder, Michael Dell, that you have to drive on a basis of measurable term, right? Way back in 2017-18, we had a prerogative of having 40% of our leadership being termed as women. And we have achieved that and moved ahead of that. And the reason why I say it, because once we have that prerogative from the top leader, every other employee or the leader follows that, and nobody discounts on that fact. So that's extremely well driven, and basis that we create kind of our strategies based on that, right? So from early careers part of it, I was able to strategize into women-only schools. Though we are equal employment opportunity provider, I will not go into schools, any school which is non-women, and hire only women over there, right? So if we have a prerogative over there, we should go by that. There are various other strategies that we have adopted which are unbiased, and we let the best of the people come into the organization. And also it needs to be all data driven. So without a transparency in the data, it is not really possible, and we take corrective actions according to that. Another important function that drives this is our ERGs, employee resource groups. So we have women in action, we have true ability groups, pride groups, and they are contributing enormous kind of effort into all this. Thank you.
Brilliant. Amit?
So this topic is, to me, it's like beaten to death, and we are still not, there where we need to be. By the way, I come from an organization where out of my almost 50,000 workforce, 84% is women. So that's the kind of diversity. So probably I'm a minority. I'm a diverse person there. But jokes apart, see the problem, in my view, the problem is twofold. One is sometimes organizations are only looking at targets without really creating an inclusive workspace inside. Till that time, you are not ensuring that people are feeling valued and included and their perspectives are being heard, nothing will happen. You can keep on hiring people, you'll keep on losing people also, and this leaking bucket will kind of continue. That's the biggest problem which we find. So the inclusion and the manager sensitization, people sensitization is equally important. The second important piece is also the larger, sociology of the society. See, organizations mirror the society. And I'll give an example. A day before, we were having a birthday celebration, and actually somebody pointed out that, so it's pretty fresh in my mind. After the moment the birthday person cut the cake, suddenly the women went forward, took the knife and started cutting that cake into small pieces to kind of share it with all. Nobody asked them. Just it's the social conditioning which has happened over the years that it just took on that. And the boys all just kept aside, and they were just waiting for them to be kind of delivered that plate into their hands. Why this is happening? This is happening because as parenting, we are also kind of reinforcing these kind of stereotypes that if there's a kitchen ka job, it's to be done by the girl child in the house. If it's a bahar ka job, it's going to be done by the male child in the house, and that starts. So when you have that kind of a mindset, and when these people kind of look at that and come to the organizations, you have that kind of a challenge. So in my mind, we need to equally work on our society and parenting in the organization. If we're able to work on that and start making a difference, it may not be a big, but at least every organization, if they're starting to focus on this piece, in my view, will start to make a actual noticeable difference, which will be much more long-term sustainable than just doing a lip service around numbers and just trying to fill in and just going by around that.
Love it. Thank you, Amit. And as the only woman on this panel, I'm very happy to hear the perspective of my male colleagues. Okay, great. Sukhjit, the next question's for you. Many organizations use a 3E model or 70-20-10 model for development and, to grow their potential successors for various roles. What do you think about this model, and what do you think is an effective mix in terms of developing talent for senior roles?
Well, nowadays I think we were talking about employee experience in the previous session from RPG. I think somebody, the Chief Talent Officer, was talking about it. So I think learning, in my view, learning again depends on individual. What kind of learning style the person has. I think it's n is equal to 1 approach, which is needed. Some people learn through social, engagements from each other. Some people learn through e-learning modules. Some people learn through trainings. So I think all kind of formats in this context are needed, and not just one kind of approach. And you can't make some people sit in training for 2 days, and there's a bunch of people who would want to, just run out of the classroom after 1 hour. So I don't think one size fits all works here, but yes, different formats and mix of formats are needed nowadays.
Wonderful, thank you. I know time is up, and I'm not sure if we have time or any questions from the audience, but maybe we can take a quick one. I don't know who's helping us out with this, but if there are any questions from the audience, and you might be waiting for tea, so I'll wait for 5 seconds and see if anyone has any questions. If you want to raise your hand to this lovely panel that we have here. There's someone right at the back, if someone can get them. Thank you for that, Sachin, and I think our time is up. So, thank you to the wonderful panel, and over to the organizers.